What's up, everyone, and welcome to our weekly design stream. Hello. Today, we're going to be doing an AMA session, which is Ask Me Anything. Right? We're going to keep this session especially, we're going to keep it a little bit more Q&A focused, more just like interactions, talking to you guys. So definitely, if you have any questions on your mind, whether that's design, work, life, anything that you think that I would be able to give you an interesting perspective on, would love to talk about that. Whatever that topic is for you, we're going to talk about that today. Right? No overall topic as such. Let's just see where it goes. I am giving over some of that control to you, and we'll talk about that. And folks, this is an AMA, right? So what's the difference between an AMA and a Q&A? Can somebody tell me that? Overall, I think it's the same thing pretty much. But in AMA, I'm giving you all a little bit permission to even ask stuff that you maybe not so sure about. You can ask me anything, right? So, and you guys know, I tend to get a little honest sometimes, especially if I can sense that questions are very genuine. So feel free to ask. We're gonna do that today. Opening up right now. Let's do a quick Twitter check. Let us do a quick Twitter check of what are some topics people have suggested. Okay. Folks, it is Wednesday, my dude. Stream topic. I have some suggestions here in the chat. Let's just talk about these. Let's see if there's something interesting here. We are live right now. This is my workspace. This is the view that you don't get to see, right? On the other side of the camera. Just recently decked it up with a few of these plants. Setup coming along kind of nicely. Cool, bro. Let's look at some comments as well, folks. Right now is the time to do comments because I'm going to open it up and I'm going to read it out. Shout out to Vaishnav. Of course, Vaishnav is alumni, 10K designers. He just launched something called Coffee Writer. He's just launched this on Product Hunt, so definitely check it out. Support. Let's see. Here it is. So Vaishnav has just launched a new plugin. Let's just quickly review this. I don't think we'll use it, but I just want to have an overall look. Overall, since we are thinking about how do we use AI as part of our, let's not say use, how do we bring and introduce AI tools to the cohort, right? That's one of our big focus areas as we prep for the cohort. Real quick note, cohort number 7 applications are due to open in about a week. That's our plan right now, about a week. Right? This has not yet been updated. It just still says May 2023. Cohort 7, we might just be about a week away. So excited about that. Excited about this because tools like this, we're definitely going to be doing reviews to figure out how much of this do we introduce into the syllabus. Now, of course, AI, we've talked about it, but as you all know, it's not some kind of new thing. AI is the present thing. It's not a future thing. It's a now thing, which means people who start using AI sooner than others in a meaningful way, right? Not just trying out 100 tools. People who start using AI in a meaningful way earlier than the others do get an advantage, right? Now, of course, that's not a plug for this. I'm not just making a promo for Coffee Writer, but in general, keep an eye out. Let's open some chats here. Ooh. What's up, Aryan? Chill vibes only? Absolutely. Shrijita has a great question. Talk about what you make you stand out as the crowd of product designers. Maybe I'll get to that in a bit. I can give you the short answer, Shrijita. It's skill, right? Having skill. If you have skill, you should be able to demonstrate skill. The best way to demonstrate skill is to show what you've done. If you've not done anything, you need to do something, because that's how you prove the skill to yourself, and then you prove it to the world, right? Overall, that's how it works. So standing out, it's, if you want to simplify, it is to some extent double abnux. It is to some extent purely a skill issue, right? To some extent, it's purely a skill issue. But after you think your skills, you can confidently say that I am good. I have supreme confidence that what I have is the best I've ever been, right? Like I've done it. I've reached my level from level 0. I've reached my level 5, right? And this for me now helps me do level 5 quests. What are level 5 quests? Things that you could not do when you were at level 1, right? What makes you stand out overall is your leveling up. Now, unlike a game, unlike actual Pokemon, there's no, you can't just show a metric like this, right? Of course, some of that might be your projects you've done, the number of leads you're getting per week. It could be the magnitude of the clients, right? The magnitude of the projects you worked on. It could be the affiliations, the associations you have, right? The people you know, the networks you're a part of, the communities that you're a part of, right? The deal flow that happens from there, the new people that you meet from there. It could be your metrics on overall. Let me just say it's a skill issue, right? Do that. Find something that you can max out on. That's my other advice for designers who want to stand out. Something that you can max out on, right? A lot of designers think I need to be perfect, which is I need to be really good at every single skill that a designer should know, will know, needs to know, should know, all of that stuff. But no, find one skill that you can max out at, and that usually helps pick everything else, because you kind of need everything else to catch up. Pick whatever that one skill is. Maybe it's articulation, maybe it is making visuals, maybe it's freelance, whatever that is. Go deep into one thing such that you can actually, connecting this back to the last 2-3 videos we've done, we've talked about specifically from the context of a commercial application, right? How do we actually get projects and make money? So the other note here that I will make is standing out as the crowd for what? For what? That's the question you need to ask yourself, and it's a good idea if you're clear on this. Because if you want to generally stand out, there are too many things you can do, right? So it's probably better to be goal focused. Now, standing out for internships, number 1. For that, I would say we have a great video coming out this week specifically on internships. So keep an eye out. In the thumbnail for that video, you will see this plant. So just remember this. Remember, sometime this week, there is a video coming out. Keep an eye out for this plant. Click that video. That's internships. If it's freelance, we also have a freelance video that we put out. Check that out. Or if it's a job, right? There are, of course, other parts. We've talked about that in the streams. Things like making your own agency, running your own business, things like that. Standing out is not a general activity that you can work on, right? Of course, you can work on your followers, right? But you and I know that even working on followers, right? Doing things that get activity, after a while, it gets boring. After a while, it gets like, bro, why am I doing this fucking engagement farming? Why am I posting all this, right? Usually, if you have a goal with which you're posting, then it's all good. Then you feel like posting more, because you can literally see every single week 2-3 people are reaching out to me. I will be able to convert these into freelance clients. That keeps you going, right? But then general exposure, general standing out, not a good idea, right? Do it with a goal. And that's pretty much the same thing that I'll say here for these folks. Junior designers, folks, there are junior designers here. Just to give you a little bit of input here, right? This is what Pranay says. Just to give you all a little input about this, I do make a lot of my content specifically targeted towards people who are starting out. And my main reason for that is I feel like there is a lack of that kind of content from people who are experienced in the industry, right? typically when you try to find, you'll find a lot of people who are in similar position, right? Similar this thing, but the more experienced you get in design, the more unrelatable you become to the people who are just starting out, right? You cannot understand the problems of. So the fact that I run a cohort, the fact that I do YouTube, people who are junior designers, there's a lot on the channel. Definitely check it out. I don't think there's anything new I can tell you at this point, which I've not mentioned in the last 3-4 videos already. But overall, I will say it's not hard. It's not impossible. It's not a Herculean task, right? What do I mean by that? What I mean by that, just to show you an example. I would definitely suggest, checking out this, especially if you are yourself considering enrolling in the cohort. Check this out. You will find a lot of our alumni here. I know this is 26 pages, but someday if you're free, use this, browse people's Twitters, check out their Instagram. This is a really good picture of what our alumni has been up to, right? So if you go to some of these early cohorts, you can see where folks have kind of gone. The reason I tell you this, right, is me having full visibility. I can tell you people are figuring it out, bro. That's one of the things that I love so much about coming to this page specifically, or checking out what alumni is up to. People are figuring it out in general, right? So although the market in some ways, the sentiment of the market, the narrative of the market, while it is recession, what will happen with AI changes, all of that stuff. My personal observation is if you're good, you will get a job, you will get freelance, you will get internships. Because although it's a kind of tough job hiring season, sentiment wise, it's also the season where people want to build new stuff, right? So when you have new technologies like ChatGPT APIs that you can create all these new products, like just now we showed you Vaishnav, right? Vaishnav as an alumni launched this product called Coffee Writer that's for UX writers. Whenever there's a new technology like this, there's a lot of people who are like, hey, I have some new ideas that I want to try, which are now possible. And that is when they look for designers. So if you feel like you're not having success with the full-time route, full-time/internship route, go the freelance route, right? Because it might just be that you've not applied the right tactics, right? Just the right strategy. I know if anybody here is in a situation where you're like, I've applied to 100 companies and I'm not getting it, then of course it's a skill issue. I'll be very clear, right? If you're applied to hundreds of companies and you're not getting it, it's probably a skill issue, or it also is probably related to the way you're reaching out, how your portfolio is, etc. But the market for people who are interested, for freelance, for part-time, that kind of work, market is amazing. For interns as well. Let's just say interns, I'm still a little open to it, right? Still doing a little bit more research. Although interns to me visibly, like sentiment wise, it seems to have slowed down, but definitely a few hiring things happening given, internally what I've seen. But one of the reasons we also made the last couple of videos for you guys is to give you this idea that careers is not this singular thing anymore where it's all about jobs. It's not all about full-time jobs, right? There are a lot more opportunities. So if you feel like you've gone for one of these and you want to try it out and, you try the other parts. There's a lot available. What matters is you in the arena trying stuff out, designing and doing stuff, right? That's what matters most. Okay. Usually when I answer questions like that, I miss a bunch of chats because I'm talking. So let me check out. A lot of these. Dave Jyoti says, oh, I like that ape, bro. You better own that ape, bro, Dave. UX is saturated if you're average. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, everything is saturated if you're average. Why? Especially if you're in knowledge work. If you're in knowledge work and you're average, you have a big problem. You have a really big problem. AI is likely to replace you if you are average, right? But the good news is average is nobody's goal, right? Nobody says one day I wish I become average, right? If you're average, that's okay. It just means you're still in the process, right? do stuff. The game's not over. The game's just got started. No super chats yet. Thoughts on Arc Browser? I just started using Arc Browser literally 1 or 2 days ago. I'll talk about it later. Maybe as I use it more. Excited. Thank you, Anshuman. Yes, coming out very soon. Can you tell us about the lamp? It's a nice lamp. I got this from, I think IKEA did a collaboration with Hendrik, I think it was the name of the designer. I don't remember. So, nice lamp. Yeah. UIX in gaming industry. Is it good? It definitely is. I'll be honest, I'm not the most active on this. I know, however, there's a lot of mentors within our cohort who are specifically in the gaming industry, right? Folks like Vishant who work at Hike. A lot of folks in crypto gaming as well. I'm seeing a bit of a trend there. No idea, bro. I don't have a full picture. I don't, of course, want to give you just a guess. But my just gut feeling overall based on what I know, gaming, especially when it comes to crypto gaming, like real money gaming, huge, going to be huge this decade, right? I already know that. This is not necessarily to do with AI or something, although, it's just technology in general, so it will be related. But game is going to be huge, bro. Like way bigger than it is right now. 100%. So in the gaming industry, if you do have an inroads, if you can figure it out, it would probably be a good option. Personally, I'm not so sure about it. I don't know too much outside that. I'm good, bro. Thank you, Anish. I'm good, bro. I'm pretty good. Just prepping for the cohort. And yeah, house is nice. Ooh, do you like camping? I love camping. I haven't gone in a while. I prefer more trekking these days than camping. But yeah. Okay, folks, interesting questions. Let's go. YOLO my money into crypto. Yeah, okay, bro. Cool. I try not to talk too much about crypto. But yeah. Oh, I see this. I see some amazing questions here. I'm just picking which one do I pick because I'm going to talk about these for at least 4-5 minutes. Some of these are really nice questions. Plans on resuscitating Abnux 2. Thank you, Squidward Mad Lad. Any plans? Not at the moment. The main issue is I don't want to talk about Web3. I don't want to talk about NFTs. I think I played my game and I to the extent I wanted, I'm pretty satisfied with the outcome. So I'm kind of done. I'm kind of done with my public phase of NFTs and that. The other stuff on Abnux 2, yeah, we'll still do it. Although I'm getting a little bit more comfortable just posting it on this main channel itself. Abnux 2 has kind of been the experiments channel. However, I think you'll see a lot more outside of Abnux 2, right? We have some new stuff coming for around this cohort. So for sure. Okay, let's start with this one. Let's start with this question here. Harsh Savant says, how do you keep your mind sorted and calm amidst the chaos on internet and information overload? Harsh, you asked a very good question. You asked a really good question. And let me just say, it's not straightforward. It's not easy because keeping your mind sorted and calm is a life skill. It's one of those things that if you do put in the effort, you can, to a decent extent, figure it out early how to do it. But if not, it only becomes harder, right? It's the kind of skill that affects every other skill. So if you do figure it out early, it means the rest of the stuff that you have, you can have the positive benefit of it, right? Versus you figure out really late in life where you're like, oh, now I'm going to start meditating and whatever, like, or now I'm going to go deeper in these practices. It's a bit of a lost opportunity. But overall, mind, order, and calm, it's something you need to figure out, bro. You need to figure out. And to be honest, it's not just internet and information overload. You need to figure out for all the tasks that you have. In general, as you move up in your career, you have more responsibility. And when I say responsibility, I don't mean it as a burden type responsibility. I mean like responsibility means you have resources, you have money that you have to use, you have to hire people, you have to build stuff. There are certain things that you have to, certain goals you have to achieve, all those things, right? Things that can be fun if you have designed your career intentionally, right? Things that can be really satisfying. But if doing that causes you trouble, if doing that causes your mind to be not sorted and chaotic, it can, the thing that you loved the most, you can start hating it. And that has happened with me. I've had to kind of every once in a while try to overcome it. Specifically about internet and information overload, I'll just say this personally. I know the standard answer is, oh, delete your social media, go black and white, change your phone settings to black and white and shit. Personally, I've not done any of that. I even right now do spend a few hours on Twitter every single day, right? Of course, a lot of that is kind of work related. But overall, at this age, bro, at this part of my career, I know the reason internet and information overload does not anymore bother me, like does not bother me to stop me or become a productivity drain or energy drain, is because I know there is nothing new out there, bro. And when I say that, I mean a little bit more philosophically, right? I don't mean it literally. I mean, there is nothing new out there that can change your life in a meaningful way unless you apply it, right? So definitely there's that. But in general, internet and information overload, that's the nature of the internet, right? In general, any platform rewards its creators. Why? Because those creators, the stuff they make, that drives engagement on the platform. You create, right? There's, for example, the 99-1 rule, which is 90% of people on any platform are lurkers just to engage. 9% interact with stuff other people post, right? Comments, replies, tweets, retweets, all of that. And 1% are the people who actually post, right? Any social network as well. So one thing I just realized is, bro, I don't need to know more. More is not the answer, right? There is no secret piece of information that is holding me back. Usually it's execution that's holding me back, which is I have not done enough. Like I've just not maxed out. And when I say maxed out, I mean I've not even tried fully, right? Imagine you have to go and you have to say, hey, I tried XYZ and I failed. A lot of times we can't even say that properly because we know we've not even tried properly, right? So it's not an information issue that holds us back. It's usually we're not doing it, and we're not doing it because we're spending time doing something else. And why are we spending time doing something else? Because in our mind, that other thing is more important, or this particular thing we've not imagined it enough to make it a priority in our importance of life, right? So how do you keep your mind calm and sorted? That's something that you will have to figure out. But specifically about internet information overload, don't worry about it, bro. Don't worry about it. If something is really important, it'll come to you, right? I don't know if that makes sense. So feel you. Glad makes glad is somewhat relatable, right? Because yeah, I do feel that. Parth, give me some more context, bro. I'll answer your question, but I need some more context on this. Who's the competitor? Is it a designer? Is it a company? What exactly is the skill set? Tell me a little bit more. Now, folks who are asking for the first time, I definitely want to answer your questions, right? And, a lot of times I can't answer all, but, I am trying my best. Let's scroll. If you want to get your question answered, you can post it again in the chat for sure. Yo, thank you, Apurv, for the super chat. Apurv says, Do you think there'll be a single strict UI framework for all interfaces in the future? Websites, public kiosks, etc. One of which you could personalize, of course. So, Apurv, this is a great question, and I'm going to reframe this slightly from the perspective of single strict UI framework. I'm going to rephrase that to, is it possible to have universal interfaces? Universal interfaces in some format. Overall, I think this in some ways, if you really think about it, your smartphone is your universal interface to the world, right? So in the sense that normally if you go out in the world and you wanted to, let's say, get your, you want to find a, I don't know, you want to find something, roti kapda makan, right? Let's take that as an example. You want to find something to eat, you want to go buy something, you want to find a house, right? You want just talking about basics, right? Transport, you want to move. In general, each of these requires you to put in effort and do something, right? Ordering food is not the same as ordering a cab, but in some ways your phone has become your universal interface. So that is kind of what I think more about. Specifically, I'm not so sure if there'll be a strict UI framework as such. I don't think that's going to happen. Mostly because the question becomes who either enforces it, or it becomes such a thing that people demand it so much that, the demand itself enforces it. Or for this to happen, there needs to be some level of paradigm shifting stuff. So the question then becomes, from the phone, can we have another universal interface? So for example, voice with the humane thing could be one, but also the Apple headset, right? Coming very soon. The Apple headset could be your universal interface to do stuff in the world. And when I say in the world, I mean IRL world, in real life, what you're looking at, physical, but also online. Online, all the relationships you have, all the networks you're a part of, all the communities, all these websites, get your work done, right? Okay, let's answer a few more. Tejas' question is, how do online courses help seasoned professionals? Because they do not need information from scratch. They just want to up their career. Definitely. I would say for seasoned professional, right? And when we say seasoned, right, masala dal ke to nahi hai. Let's define it. What is seasoned? Let's say it's 3+, 5+, right? Typically 10+, I don't even right now at the moment think about it, because the later you go in your career, the more unique your situation becomes, right? Somebody who's 10 years out is probably very deep into what type of company it is, the domain that they're in, right? That's just my guess. But typically, the longer your career, the more unique your position becomes, right? Versus starting out, everybody faces similar problems. So in general, how do seasoned professionals up level? That's kind of the question, right? Before we go to online courses, which is the solution, what's the problem? Let's talk about that. The problem is, the longer you spend in a particular company, the more you might not be, let's just say, up to date with how things are in the world, right? You are kind of an expert at doing things at your company, getting things done there. So there is that lack of, let's just say, maybe visibility or way to compare. But in general, for seasoned professionals, one use case, one problem that they face is, how do I switch paths? Because if you've been on a certain path for 4-5 years, there's a inertia, right? You can't just suddenly abandon it and say, I'm going to do totally something new. So a career transition is a difficult thing. So a lot of times seasoned professionals, now of course, I'm not telling you an online course can do that, right? Online course, one where it's Udemy and you're just taking a course, watching content. I don't think that's the best for seasoned professionals, because keep in mind, if you are a professional with some experience, what you're looking for is not 20 hours of content, right? You're not looking for more content. You're saying, give me something that's exactly my solution. Give me less content, give me less in a short duration of time, help me solve my problem, right? They're not looking for content. So online courses, I'm not so sure if it's a great fit, but cohort-based courses, right? Or things like coaching. If you're able to find good coaches and mentors who you're literally paying to be your coach, they are your external ear. startups, all startups have advisors. All startups have, whether these are informal advisors or they are the investors, right? Which so they also hold a stake in the company. Personally, in my opinion, it is crucial, especially the more later stages in your career, you have to have a solid, not just peer network, but an advisor network. People who you trust, people who, जिन्होंने फाड़ा है, bro, who've done crazy shit, in your opinion, right? According to you, they've done some crazy shit. The rest of the world might not know about who these people are, but to you, they've done crazy shit. You want to, as you're going further in your career, have people like this on your speed dial. What that means practically is just being able to send them a WhatsApp and receive an answer, right? That's a big deal. Over time, you want to have more of these people, right? And when I say more, I don't mean 10 or 100 of these. Few trusted people that you can, for very specific things, know that I can get an unbiased opinion from this person that is rooted in reality, that is rooted in their experiences, that without judgment, this person is going to tell me. They're not going to judge me for, अच्छा job छोड़ रहे हो bro, ऐसे कैसे, right? That's a form of judgment. Or अच्छा डिजाइन कर रहे हो, like bro, safe career, ये इसके बेटे ने तो ये क्या है वो, right? That's judgment. Sometimes, that's what you get, but a lot of times you want an unbiased opinion from someone. And you can't sometimes ask people in your company, because then they think about, okay, like, can I just tell this person? Or within the company, then the company context gets involved, right? They're like, there's some level of company politics that might be involved. You can't get an unbiased answer, right? You can't ask your manager, because in the end, the company pays your salary. Who do you talk to? Right? It's a huge problem. And let me just say, online courses don't really solve this. This is actually still pretty much an unsolved problem. I know a lot of folks who want to switch, like within 10K designers, we have folks who are in, let's say, their late 20s, some people in their 30s, sometimes late 30s, who want to switch to design. Now, it's much harder for them compared to somebody who's, let's say, in college right now, right? Because they have to think about, is this worth doing this? There's just a lot more variables, right? And I think it's still a pretty much unsolved problem, right? So if somebody is building something in that space, I think we need a lot more people who are coaches, mentors, right? Visibility of this. Even today, if you want to get a coach, you want to get a mentor for something specific, it's not just, you can't a lot of times just go and book something with a random person. You need somebody who knows you, has some context, knows, how you got started or something like that. Somebody who, all the judgment and all that stuff that I said earlier, very unsolved problem. This is something that I face as well. I'm just like, who do I talk to? Now, of course, I can talk to founders in my network every once in a while. I know other edtech founders. I know people who I kind of came up with who are now working as VCs, founders. I know I can talk to them when I need to. But I feel that gap sometimes too. Not an easy problem. And I don't think it goes away. Every single person has some version of this problem. Let's do some more. Thank you for that question, by the way. I really like that. Okay, let's talk about Humane's recent TED Talk. Humane did do a recent TED Talk, and of course, we have made the video on Humane, so we should be talking about it. But honestly, I'll tell you what, I was a little underwhelmed. Maza nahi aaya, bro. Maza nahi aaya. I'm actually waiting for something better. To be honest, at this point, I am more excited about the Apple headset than I am about Humane, which makes me think I should probably be thinking about a video on that, because we made the Humane video, but I don't know. Maza nahi aaya. The TED thing was underwhelming. Like, that's exactly the speculation, and it wasn't great. So I'm hoping things change, but right now, not very excited about it. Let's see. I'm going to scroll back up, okay? I want to answer questions from folks who've asked maybe for the first time, who... Okay. She sold my chicken, bro. How could she do that? Fucked up, bro. Question, though, is UX saturated in India? The good news, so the short answer is no, not yet. But the good news is you don't need to care about India when it comes to being a UX designer, because it's the kind of skill right now that you can get clients from anywhere, right? So I know there's some designers who, like, even I'll tell you, me, when I was starting out early in my career, I did not freelance for any Indian clients. And a little bit of that was choice, right? I just found foreign clients easier to work with. They paid you in dollars. But the other reason was it was just as difficult or easy getting a foreign client as an Indian client. Think about that, guys. Right? And when it comes to jobs, of course, moving abroad, difficult, right? That's one of the hard type of jobs which also sponsor your visa. But remote jobs today, you would be surprised, right? If you're the kind of person who has the skill, who specifically knows what they want, like, I want a remote job, I want to earn in dollars, and you're not like, caught up on brand names and shit, you just want something that fits what you're looking for, there's a lot of opportunities that are non-Indian as well. It's just that it's a little bit more, let's just say, a question mark for people, right? One of the problems people have is if you're applying for remote, you have to, anyway, that was not your question though. Your question was saturated. No, it's not saturated, right? It is definitely saturated if you're average though. So do not be average, right? Average is your enemy. Okay. Few more. Pranay says, can a no-code tool be a skill as a product designer that I want to max out on? Yeah, absolutely. Pranay, if you, let's say, when you're saying no-code, my guess is you're either talking about Webflow, Framer, or Bubble, right? That's just my guess. But if you become a full-on, right, pick one of these, right? You'll still need to have your Figma skills, which is your actual designing work. But if you can become a really good Framer expert or Webflow expert, you will be minting money, bro. Like, that is a hot freelance job. Full websites where you can design as well as code it using no code, that's really hot. So definitely, if you want to pick that, you want to become the websites guy, designing really good websites, you could even specialize and go wherever you want. But yes, that's a good example. That's a good thing you can max out on. However, keep in mind that if your visual is bad, if your core fundamentals of design are bad, it makes it much harder. It's much more harder to max out on something like that if your foundation is not in place. So just do keep that in mind, right? You will have to, while maxing out that skill, you will still have to pull everything else, right? To make sure that you get the full effect. Satyam, I have good news for you. It is not. I haven't opened Photoshop in 3 to 4 years, bro. Illustrator, I've pretty much never spent more. I've not spent in my entire life more than 40 minutes in Illustrator. I think that should tell you what you need to know. It's all about Figma now. In fact, Figma plus knowing something like Figma plus a little bit of motion, whether it's in prototyping in Figma or even something like some prototyping app, plus a little bit of a no-code app. Things like Framer and Webflow today let you do a direct import from Figma, right? So that is the area you should be focused on. There is a lot of legacy tools. What you just gave me an example is a legacy tool. That's not to say that legacy tools, nobody uses them. But if you're starting out today, don't start with legacy tools. No, I'm not saying Illustrator sucks or Photoshop sucks. It's good for certain things. But if you're starting out and your goal is UI design, UX design, web design, to make that kind of work, do not waste your time with legacy tools, right? Start with the industry level tools at the moment. Okay, back to new questions here. Bro, Mihir, hardcore UX, bro. Putting red and green emojis so that it stands out. The chat. Wow. Mihir, that worked, by the way. How can a UX designer at an MNC create a portfolio since it's not possible to mention the work and clients at a time? Mihir, in general, the practical thing that I would ask you is portfolio for what? What's your next move? That's what it's dependent on, actually. And that will help simplify things and make it easy for you. Because if your next move, let's say, is to find another job, what you need to do is you need to find some way of showing the work you've done without exposing important details, right? Like, you can't just log into your company portal and show that at an interview. That's bad. That's really bad. But if you can take what you've done, synthesize it, right? So write a small article on how you did it, or case study, or even slides. If you can make a slides of what your your, let's just say your main project that you did. Another chat from me here, which is, I want to move to a product-based company. Perfect. What you want to do is the key work, right? Let's say how much ever time you spent, a year, 2 years, whatever it might be, even if it's lesser. There is probably a flagship project that you worked on, right? A big one, important one, that according to you really tested your skills, gave you a lot of learnings, is great in all ways, right? Subjective call, but it's for you. You want to figure out, how do I have documentation of this flagship work? Documentation means even if it's something like slides that you don't publicly share, once you're in the interview process, you can show this stuff, right? Keep in mind the things that you think are sensitive, you don't show them. Typically, NDAs rarely enforced. Nobody enforces NDAs, right? They've just kind of kept that to be in safe. But I'll tell you how people are doing it today, right? How people are doing it today is they're doing it with password protected portfolios. So once you get your foot in the door, how do you get your foot in the door? Check out some of our past videos. We've talked about that. Once you get your foot in the door, you can definitely show those password protected ones. Other than that, if you want to create some waves online, right? Like you want to get inbound leads and stuff, you want to set up a personal brand, might be hard for you to directly talk about your projects. In that case, it might be a good idea to do some projects that are purely for presentation purpose. These can be projects where you can test out your skills, right? Outside of my manager and all this shit, you can just work on something of your own. And you can just like document the whole thing, share behind the scenes, share the work, share your Figma, share your interactions, micro interactions, everything. That's probably how I would approach it. Yeah. Okay, bro. Okay, Pratik says, what's up, Pratik? By the way, Pratik says, I'll be graduating in June. Should I apply for an internship or a junior role? I have prior freelance experience. The question, Pratik, is whatever you get. Honestly, both are great options. It kind of depends on what you get. Both are great options, right? So go for either. But what I will say, the note that I want to make is we have a video specifically on internships, right? Your first role coming out this week. So keep an eye on that. I think that it's like a 40-minute video where we go into depth. I think you will definitely find a lot of actionable insights in that particular video coming out this week. Keep an eye out. And of course, if you want to join the cohort, keep an eye out for that as well, coming up in May. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up. Who are some folks who are asking questions for the first time? Okay, Parth's question. I'm working as a freelance video editor. I edit long form, but the creator has other freelancers to edit shorts. I want to learn their editing style to potentially sell shorts. Parth, overall, the question that you had asked was, how do I ask and convince a competitor? The problem here is you're thinking that they're a competitor. They are not, bro. They are not a competitor, right? In fact, if you think they're a competitor, you are probably in your interactions acting as if they are the competitor. You need to act like they are colleagues, because if you guys are working on the same team for the same creator, you are, right? This is a simple knowledge exchange. They are not your competitors. They will teach you their skill set. Just don't think of them as competitors. It's knowledge exchange. I am sure there's a lot that you know that they would love to learn from. It's just that maybe the channel of communication is not open. Maybe they've just been so busy they just didn't think about it. Take the first step. Create that bridge that, makes it easy for them to talk to you. And the reason I say you're not competitors is the market is huge. Huge. You see the face I'm making when I say huge. Huge, because it's not just Indian creators, it's creators all over the world, right? So even if you guys are doing the exact same thing, you are not competing, right? In the end, to be a successful freelancer, you need to own your deal flow, right? The leads that you have coming in, that's what happens. And every successful freelancer has their own source of leads, whether that's their YouTube, it's their personal brand, it's their blog, it's their newsletter, it could be anything. So, it's not competition. Just create an open communication channel, treat them as your colleagues, and I think you'll be sorted, bro. Yeah. Having fun, guys? Let's keep going. Question from Avocado Love. What's the difference between physical and digital product design? How easy is it to switch? I'll talk about this from two perspectives, right? One is the skills, second is the job. Switch, personally, I know people who've done physical to digital switch. I know very, very, very few people who've done the other way around, right? Digital to physical. And usually it's because digital products, easier to make. If you make a fuck up, you can always do an update. In general, there's no cost of materials. There's more freelance opportunities. You can work globally with this. Personally, I don't know too much beyond that. I know pretty much less than 10 physical product designers. It's just that rare. But it kind of depends on your goal. If your goal is really to work online, work digital, figure out what this AI stuff is, use these tools, make creative stuff in this new media environment that we live in. Algorithmic feeds, digital, global game that we are playing. If you want to play there, I would say digital is the way to go. Nothing wrong with physical, right? I love physical products, but they're just so much harder. Like even if you want to, let's say, even if you want to ship a physical product from, let's say you're in India to somewhere else, you have to fucking register a company, get an import-export certificate, send it out, invoice, all that shit. It's just digital is a way more easier field. But I don't know anything beyond that. How easy it is? It's probably quite hard, if I had to guess. Yeah. Another question from Dev Jyoti, which is, where is UI UX going in this decade? Any predictions? Where it's going is proliferation, which is one definite way you can think about it, there are going to be more platforms. So just to give you an example, 5 years ago, if you and I were having this conversation just 5 years ago, or let's just say last decade, right? Early last decade, 5 years ago, 6 years, 10 years ago. Number one, streaming would not be this good, right? Streaming itself did not pick up till last decade. Figma, you would not have Figma, right? Figma was an early technology. And I might be mixing timelines when I say 5 years. But my point is, today, designers have way more options, right? You can, as a designer, say, I am full-time, properly, I'm going to go all into freelance. When I was starting out, the only two options were freelance or a job. That's it. You can do an agency, but it was too risky, right? And honestly, let's just say it's a much better time right now to start an agency than it was 10 years ago. I'll talk about that maybe some other time. But going into this decade, there's way more paths available. It's almost like the core game of being a designer, UI, UX, that has dropped. In fact, it's been dropped for a while. But now you have so many more DLCs. So where it's going, my guess would be either more specializations. That's definitely one direction. So you will have people who are like, I am all in on freelance. I am all in on Webflow, Framer, making no-code websites for my clients. You might find people who go deep into AR and VR when those devices make it to the mainstream. But in general, I think a lot of other designers will go the other direction, which is they become generalists. You will find designers who say, hey, I love doing all of it. I just love all of it. I love making videos. I love telling stories online. I love finding clients and, the rush of finding a new client that's going to pay me. I love that. I love visual design. I love creating things that are pretty, pixel ke pakode. And you know what? I love side projects, right? I want to do it all. So you will find hardcore generalists like this who have their own AI army, as well as just not all AI army. These are the folks who will probably build a small 2-3 size, but less than a sports team. So a small team, and they go all in. we are probably going to find these kind of super designers who take on these multiple skills, go full in on the generalist side and say, I want to do a lot more. And honestly, designers are really well placed to do this because they understand businesses, they understand the user, they understand the people, they understand human psychology, they understand metrics, right? What is useful and what is not, what to measure and what to not. And of course, they know how to actually make the product itself. Add on top of that the ability to make media, right? To be able to distribute your work. That can make you a superpower designer. And at that point, we might not even call them designers anymore, right? Maybe there's a new term for it, like AI creator or sovereign creator or something like that. But that's my prediction. That's my prediction for this decade. Lot more specialists forging their own unique individual path. Lot more generalists who are saying, I want to do everything. But one thing I definitely also predict, in addition to this, is there's going to be a lot more communities. There's going to be a lot more communities online, communities of other specialists who are kind of doing this together, communities of other generalists that are helping each other. In general, when it comes to communities and online, micro communities like this one that you're a part of right now, that you're listening to, we haven't even scratched the surface of that, right? We came close when with NFT projects and DAOs, but we've not even scratched the surface. So communities, online guilds and squads, huge. One suggestion, one read. A read if I had to share with you guys on this. Squad wealth. If you've never seen this, this is very deep alpha for you. The future of the creator economy is likely not to be solo. It's likely to be multiplayer. It's going to be guilds, right? Squads have existed for thousands of years. We are seeing new species of squads being born online. A squad can be something as simple as a GC, a group chat, but the culture, the memes, the stuff that you create within the group chat makes its way outside of the world, right? There is a cultural currency. There is a cultural shared level of trust within communities, right? 10K Designers is a prototype of that, right? We have all of this stuff. So my guess is we're going to see a lot more of this. I would say, right, honestly, bro, I'm not into all this neoliberalism and shit. Like I'm not into these terms, but in general, the thing I'll say is squads. What you want to do is you want to find and build your goddamn squad, right? That I would say is the alpha. You want to find people you can either start something with, do something together. It can be, micro communities. Even if it's a group chat is a squad. Radiant squad energy, right? This is where you want to be, right? You either want to be this guy joining a very powerful squad and together you guys kill it on the internet, right? Internet is a scary place. Don't go alone. Go together. You either want to be this guy joining an interesting squad, or you want to be this guy creating a squad. What that means is helping others figure out a path that you already figured out, help people who want to do the same thing, but also receive input, mentorship, guidance from people who are ahead, people who've done things you want to do, right? Both of these are essential. I love this, bro. This is like one of my favorite articles, Squad Wealth. Yeah. Thank you for that question, by the way. That was a good one. Squirrel Squad. Absolutely. Dope. Let's, we can talk about this one. Avocado Love says, since 10K designers applications are handpicked, what is the criteria to get selected? Yes, they are handpicked. For those of you who might not be aware, I individually read your answers and make a decision. Overall, to simplify things, the decision is based on, will you find it useful to be in 10K designers, right? Can we really, for you, make a big impact? Because unlike an online course, which is about information, cohort-based courses are about transformations. That's actually, I didn't come up with that, right? That's actually what it is. People who've been running cohort-based courses way before me, people that I have learned from, that have mentored me, we have data to show this. Within 10K designers alone, we've done 7 cohorts, right? So we know to some extent who are the kinds of people who are most likely to fit with the vibe, who we can actually create transformations for, right? Some of you, for example, have this question, which is, are the 10K designers, why don't you do a shorter course and you release the pre-recorded session or something? Because that's information. Information is free. We have tons of it on YouTube, and we are literally spending a couple lakhs per month creating and getting all that information out to you in the highest quality possible. Information will be free. But transformations require time, it requires investment, it requires seriousness, and that is who the cohorts are for, right? So overall, just if you are applying for the cohort, spend some time with the answers, because yes, they do get read. Yes, I individually read every single answer. Just spend some time on that, and I think that alone will probably be the thing that gets you in. If you have a genuine interest, especially if you've already started on the path, right? If you're already a little bit into it, maybe you've done some internship, maybe you already know Figma, that would be great. Yeah. Let's take some more. Sure, we can take this from Punk Riot. How to open a design agency from scratch with other designers. So I'll take just the first question. But the answer in general is you want somebody who is your sales guy, right? The one who talks to clients. In an agency, it is useful if there's one person who kind of does that, right? This is the person who every week you have a certain number of leads, certain number of conversations happening and conversions. So you have somebody who loves doing that, right? The worst thing you want is somebody who's like, I just want to do design, mujhe nahi baat karni. Clients say like, no. Find somebody who loves doing that part. And then find somebody who loves doing the other part, which is the actual hands-on execution, right? Maybe one of these is you. Maybe you need to partner up with somebody else for that. But overall, my advice for people starting design agencies is figure out what your bare minimum to get started is, right? I'm sure you have a perfect agency in mind. You've seen some agency that you love, you admire their work. It's hard to be there on day one. Figure out what your minimum viable is. Figure out how you get clients. Clients is the only way to grow. More projects. Convert these projects into case studies and focus on testimonials. For agencies, testimonials are super important. Testimonials, I don't mean private testimonials, just clients referring. That will happen. That is word of mouth. But see if you can actually create testimonials of your agency work. In fact, you could probably do this as an individual designer as well. And then, you're a designer, figure it out, right? You can take this social proof, implement it as part of your discovery calls, your website, whatever, but that's how you get started. Beyond that, I'm sure you can figure it out. Yeah. Question from Rakesh. I'll take this, bro, Rakesh, since it's an AMA. I've been hearing that the new cohorts are not as efficient as the old ones. Is that true? Now, when we think about efficiency, I don't know if this is true. Honestly, this is a question, you're not wrong in asking this. I have asked myself this question quite often because we're designers, right? We measure metrics. So we do have metrics on success criteria, goal. The thing that I said earlier, right? Cohort-based courses are not purely about information. They're about community and they're about transformations. And that's what we aim for. So efficiency, no, we don't have a problem. In fact, to give you some insight, what we have observed with our polls and some of the, the research that we do is more and more designers don't want to get a job. And this was actually something that we were really confused by initially, which is efficiency. When you calculate efficiency, is efficiency number of people who got jobs, right? And if you try to make it more efficient, are you forcing people to get into jobs? People who want to do freelance, people who want to just have design as a skill, but still want to be an engineer, still want to be a product manager, right? So the big shift that we made was we said it is okay to have multiple paths. It is okay to have multiple paths. And so we don't really force you to get a job, right? I think we would be doing you a disservice. The cohort is based on transformation. So it's figuring out where are you right now and where you want to be, right? There's multiple paths available. That is also one of the reasons why we've started talking a lot more about freelancing, because yeah, what we realized was a lot more people in the cohorts are freelancing now compared to the past. Like more people want to do it. I think COVID definitely did this, which is people, when they finally had a chance to work remote, a lot of them said, I want to do this all the time. I don't want to go back to work. So I would say this is not true, right? That's not true. In fact, we've gotten more efficient because now 6 cohorts in, our framework, our curriculum, as well as our network is rock solid, right? Way more solid than it's ever been. And that enables us to do a lot more new stuff like the AI updates and a few more things that I don't want to reveal everything to you guys. But yeah, keep an eye out on that. Okay, we're about an hour in. Guys, we're about an hour in. Do you want to keep going? Or do you want to, enough for today? If you want to keep going, I'm going to need some more questions. But let's take this. Rai's amazing question, actually, to be honest. This really ties into the last one. Which is, what is the ultimate objective or end goal that product designers aim to achieve in the industry? I'm gonna say definitely check out that one video we did, one of the last streams where we talked about these different paths, right? The vibe priest, if you remember that keyword, right? That was in the stream. I had this iPad thing where I drew it. It was in one of the streams. But overall, there are multiple paths. Ultimate objective for some people is, can I just move to a bigger company such that my resume looks amazing and, I work at the best companies in the world. That is a good ultimate path if somebody has that. For a lot of people, it's moving from being an individual contributor to becoming a manager. And you know what? I think since this is a visual thing, let me pull it up. We can go iPad mode for this. Let's see. I think this was in the roadmap video, if I'm not wrong. Let's see. It's being cut out a bit. You guys seen this, right? So the ultimate objective might be for you to get to that last column, which is you're a leader, you're an executive, you're the VP of design, director of design or something. Maybe you're a high IC, you're a principal product designer, you're working on huge products that get a lot of people to use it. Maybe you're a vibe priest, right? Now, vibe priest, of course, I don't want to fully talk about it, but in general, it's basically you've optimized. This last goal is optimization. The ultimate goal might for you be just to become a freelancer, right? Although life is long, bro. Goals change, people change, right? So I don't know if there's an ultimate, but to give you a summary, let's bring this back up. To give you a summary of what this ultimate goal is, the ultimate objective is to be very honest, it's to build products, bro, that users love, right? As a designer, the thing that everybody secretly desires is, I want to build something that has impact. What is impact? A lot of people using it. Like, I'll give you an example. When I was at Unacademy as the head of design, we worked on live learning, right? This is a live session that's happening. We actually built our own version of creator tools that let people do live sessions, add maps, add whiteboard, add images, like pick up something from chat, just like this, add it here, right? We designed our own tools for that. On the learner side, there was a whole, the whole user journey as well. Now that is impact. You design a product that makes some impact in people's lives. Similarly with 10K designers, when I go to my directory page, I am proud, bro. I'm proud that I was able to create something, bring all these other mentors, right? It's not just me. And we have a network today that's actually helping create jobs. We've created hundreds of jobs, right? So that is not everybody's ultimate goal, but it is for me. My goal is my work should have impact. My work should be noticed. It should change people's lives in some way for the positive. All right. So overall, everybody wants that. What exactly looks like varies by person to person. But beyond this, of course, there are career goals. For some, it might be to move outside the country, right? Maybe set up somewhere else. For some, it might be to break away from the matrix, bro, to be very honest, to completely break away from the system, to not be reliant on jobs. I don't think that's a bad thing. That might be somebody's ultimate objective. But in general, point number one, there is no ultimate objective, because when you achieve it, then what? You don't cease to exist. You still have to figure out what's next. And what's next can be, I'm going to keep what I have, right? So that's conservative. Or I'm going to build new stuff, more liberal, right? It could be that. But in general, it's multiplayer, right? I hope I've given you a good sense of that. I know, for example, folks that who were my managers back in my first job, let's say at housing.com, when I was a product designer there. The people who are working with me, they are now founders. A lot of them are heads of design, head of design at Hotstar, head of design at a bunch of them. Bro. Housing mafia, though, let's not even get into that, right? Number of people who are at housing. But ultimate goal would be for you to figure out what it is, right? There is no, I've told you what the general goal is, but specifically for you, what do you want that to be? What do you want that to be? Do you want to break out of the matrix? Do you want to do freelance? Kya karna chahte ho, bro? Asking you. Do you want to work at a bigger company? Do you want to work at a company that your parents recognize, right? Maybe that makes you proud. Maybe you want to work for a company that a huge chunk of India uses to make their life better, to improve their living conditions, to make things easier, to have employment, right? To have employment where you can actually use your phone. You don't need a fancy degree that you pay a lot of money for. You can use your phone to get a job. Right? Maybe you want to create that kind of world. That could be your ultimate objective, bro. But deeply personal question. I would definitely suggest going deeper into it and finding out what that is for you. Question from Rupesh is, what does someone mean when they say craft and how to improve that? Rupesh, in general, when people say craft, they are talking about the nuts and bolts, like the actual thing. Like they are talking about things like visual design, your core design principles, right? Balance, hierarchy, visuals, contrast, white space. How do you achieve that? Like all of that stuff. Right? But the craft comes to pure design stuff. So not career related. How do I do that? Pure light stuff, which is, are my designs good? Let's say when it comes to visuals, the craft of visuals, right? All these things I told you about, balance, hierarchy, white space, proximity, all that shit. Right? Visual principles, there are visual principles. That's craft. Similarly, when it comes to the exact tools, a lot of people actually talk about that. So if you do know all this, the principles, a lot of craft comes down to things like auto layout. How do you create good fucking auto layout to the spec designs, right? Or design system. How do you create these perfect design systems that, here's the thing, the goal of a design system is so that people use it. You have to actually get your devs to use it. It's a company-wide thing, right? So there is all of that. But the actual craft is your design system, right? So when they say craft, they are usually talking about the things that only designers can do, right? The very, very specific to design. In general, everybody solves problems. Problem solving is a part of everybody's, if you're a knowledge worker, it's part of your job. I'm speaking too fast. But that's what typically people mean when I talk about craft. The actual pixel stuff, actual tool stuff, actual... only a designer could do this. Wow, pixel ke pakode. Usually that's what is being talked about when they say craft. Bro, I love these questions. I hope you guys are enjoying these questions as well, because we're going to keep this going for a little bit longer and then we wrap up, bro. Saurabh, application process is your answers. I'll keep this short because I've already answered this. Learn Figma, bro. Saurabh, if you can in your application show me something you've worked on, like that's the ultimate social proof. If you can show me in your application something cool that you have built, bro, why would I not want to have you as part of the cohort, right? But the questions in the application have been designed to figure out if you are a good fit, in the sense that can we actually help you, not purely in terms of information, but the whole transformation. Yeah, but don't worry about it, bro. I think if your intent is genuine and you have some, you're on that path already, why wouldn't you get in, right? Why wouldn't you? Thank you for this, Harsha. Definitely check this out, folks who are looking. Just check out this message. Consists of a bunch of this stuff. Also open, right? Anybody here, if you want to reach out to some of the alumni, talk to them, you can do that via LinkedIn. You can do that via Twitter. Up to you, right? Check it out. And honestly, I think those folks, people who've already been through the cohort, are probably the best suited to give you an answer because they've been through it themselves. Check that out. If you want a quick view of that, go to the channel right now, open a new tab, go to the design journeys playlist. There's about 6 or 7 episodes there. Find the one that seems most relatable. Check that out. We'll put out more of that over the next couple of weeks. But yes. Asha says, answer me, please. What is Asha's question? Asha's question. I'm not able to find it. You might have to post it again, Asha. Maitri says, I'm going to join C7. Awesome. Little concerned how long it takes. I don't want to sit for crappy placements. Yeah, nobody wants to sit for crappy placements. How long does it take? It's purely skill dependent. I would say that's actually probably one of the biggest ones. Skill, but where does skill come from? Like double clicking into this. Skill comes from practice. Double click again. How to practice of what? Projects. Okay, double click again. What projects? It's projects which are end to end, that there is a clear problem statement. You worked on it. You went through a process. You are able to talk about your process. You can document it. You can show your work in a very contextual way. This is how I did it. These are my explorations, all that stuff, right? What people call case studies sometimes. But no clear answer other than that, right? Mehti, I'm sure you and I, we both know this. It's very, very variable. But to increase your chances, to max out your chances, I would definitely suggest focusing on the projects. Since you mentioned you are enrolling in Cohort 7, specifically attend every single session, but also work very deeply on your assignments. The assignments that you have as part of Cohort 7, you will be receiving feedback on that from our mentors, but also from me. We are going to have live sessions that are pure feedback sessions where literally we sit for 3 to 4 hours and we review like 20 projects or so, right? And we do multiples of these throughout the cohort. So that would be the best time to get input on your projects, but work really hard on your projects. By the end of the cohort, typically, maybe it takes a little longer if you have a good case studies and if you're able to apply the specific strategies, right? We specifically teach a lot of stuff outside design because, guys, I don't know if you know this, but I've written Pajama Profit. I am the author of Pajama Profit, right? It's a Bloomsbury published bestseller on Amazon, probably out of stock at this moment, written it with Varun Maya. I've also been a founder. Right now, I'm a startup founder. I've been a startup founder in the past, right? I've also been a head of design. So when I'm talking about it, I'm not purely talking from the jobs perspective. I know the world is way bigger. And so a lot of the strategies that we drop are not exactly things that a designer would tell you about, but I can because I have that variety, right? And so we've built that as part of the curriculum. Short answer, assignments, work, your actual work. Yes. Hitesh says, app design, we sat for 5 hours. Yes. And Hitesh, I'll tell you what, literally one of the things we're working on right now is how do we do more of those sessions? Yes, those are dope. I think those are one of the most fun sessions. Can I add my portfolio application? Yes, absolutely. Please do that. Please do that. If you already have one, very high chances that, it's good. you make it through. Case study reviews, good idea, Rupesh. We have done some case studies on the channel. If you go some of the older videos, we've not done any new ones in a while, but let's do it. We should do this. Input taken. Definitely needed. We'll do more. What's up, Gurmeet? Can you talk a little about transitioning into entrepreneurship from designing? That seems to have changed my life for the good. I can, Gurmeet, for sure. I'll kind of keep it upper level pe, since you asked general question. I won't go very deep. But in general, the thing I said earlier, as designers, we understand users, we understand people's beliefs, right? How do beliefs affect your behavior, right? We understand people. We understand metrics. We understand business. We understand what to measure, what to not. We also understand what it means to get to. We also intuitively kind of understand demand and supply. Like if I post something banger and a lot of people reply to it, I know that I can design it to get that response, right? In general, when it comes to entrepreneurship, keep in mind that the difference is that with design, after you get a job or after you've sort of figured out freelance, it kind of becomes quite repeatable in the sense that, especially if it's a job, right? If you're in a job, a lot is actually figured out for you. Some people, like a question that I like asking sometimes is, what do you think is harder? Getting a job or starting your own business? And starting your own business is definitely the harder one. Also because every business is so unique, like the way you get your customers from, what exactly is your product service, how are you as a founder, what are your strengths as a founder. To give you an example, I do have clients, for example. These are folks who are founders who, I do coaching services for. We get on a call and we talk about very deep founder level shit, right? How do you deal with stuff? How do you make roadmaps? How do you make your OKRs for the quarterly planning? How do you deal with HR issues, hiring people, firing people, all that shit, right? Point being, transition to entrepreneurship, it's a way more of a messy journey. As designers, we like things to be clean, neat, nice edges, aligned, groups, auto layout, this, that. Entrepreneurship is messy. And sometimes you have to let things be messy. You have to be okay with that. But two main things, if I had to summarize, condense, synthesize this into two things. If you're into entrepreneurship, bhai, you're doing a dhanda, right? Ye mat bholna. Dhanda hai, bro. And I don't mean that in a negative way, right? Ashni Grover types. I mean it in an Ashni Grover type way. Dhanda, it's a sacred thing. It's your business. A business is not a selfish thing, right? This is more around mindset. A business is you saying, I am going to deliver value to my customers. Designers do that in companies as well, but entrepreneurship, you as a founder are saying, I am going to find how I can deliver value and unlock something. So let's say for 10K designers, it's helping people with this transformation of becoming a designer. That's your core value. There's a lot of shit around that, right? Like your landing pages, your funnels, your distribution channels. But the two main things, once you understand that a business is a responsibility, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your customers, right? Keep that in mind. You're not doing this for yourself, you're doing this for your customers. It requires a certain level of selflessness to be an entrepreneur because you can't always think about yourself. You have to think about the business, you have to think about the customers. And in fact, if you raise money, you have to also sometimes think about your stakeholders, your investors. But the two simple things, if you are running a business, number one, don't die. Most of the time, most failures are people giving up or running out of juice or being burnt out. Number one, don't die. And if you feel like you're dying, take time to recover, but don't give up, right? Giving up is statistically most likely why you're going to stop. Most likely why you're going to go back to the safe path of a job or whatever it might be for you. Don't die. Number two, make money. Now, this might seem simple, but these are the only two rules of business, according to me. Second rule, make money. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, we want to do cool stuff, right? We want to do stuff that is not exactly revenue generating. Like as a designer, you can spend hours polishing your pixels, but if you're an entrepreneur, you can't do that. You have to do a lot of other stuff that you might not like to do, right? But it's not purely design. It's things like customer service. It's things like, a lot of it is actually just strategizing, planning, making partnerships, reaching out to people, building that network, your own mentors, demand and supply generation. But a lot of times, as designers, we can do the thing that is fun to do or it's cool to do. No. Remember that you have to bring your focus eventually back here, which is how do I make money? The second reason most people stop this and go back to the safe path, re-enter the matrix, so to say, is because they don't make money. You can launch an amazing podcast, or just generally, you can launch an amazing podcast or something like that, right? Maybe you want to do a side project, but bro, if your side project does not make money, it has an expiry date, and every single day you're moving closer to that expiry date. If it makes money, that money buys you time to reset the clock on the expiry date and live another day. To recap that, number one, don't die. Don't give up. If you want to do it, it's very satisfying. Go all in. Or basically don't give up. Don't quit. And even if you do quit, come back soon. Make a quick recovery. Because you're not just doing this for yourself, you're doing this for your customers, you're doing this for your business, right? Selflessness. Number two, make money. Don't forget to do revenue generating activities. A launch on Product Hunt is great, but making money is a different thing. Likes ain't cash. Likes ain't cash, right? Cyril's like, got my ass roasted in that feedback session, the 5-hour one. I'm glad it helped though. I'm glad it helped. Okay, let's do a few more. Is portfolio mandatory? No, it's not. It definitely helps. And if you have time, do a little bit of Figma, do that. But no, not mandatory at all. We have a lot of people who are still in college, maybe final year or something like that. Even folks who've dropped out, to be honest. And no, a portfolio is not mandatory. Although if you do have it, honestly, your chances might go up. Akash says, really want to hear more about Pixel ke Pakode. What happens? What's your take on UI skill when a designer starts his or her career? Great question, Aksh. Overall, again, to synthesize it, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. You guys have heard this? जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. You've also probably heard, don't judge a book by its cover. That's actually wrong. What the fuck else am I supposed to judge a book by if not its cover? If I'm at the airport, bro, the cover better catch my attention because I don't have an hour to read the contents, bro. I don't have 15 minutes per book. I don't even have 5 minutes per book. I don't even have a minute per book to make a fair, honest judgment, right? Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. So the reason I tell you that is UI skills, right? And when you say UI, I'm assuming you're talking about visuals, right? When you say UI, you might also be talking about, of course, other stuff like structure, hierarchy, how do you do columns, how do you have neat layouts, how do you do all of that? Also, in general, how do you make stuff look good? It's very important. But the good news here, a lot of people feel like if I wasn't a creative kid in school, fuck bro, I don't know visuals and now what the fuck should I do? That's false. A lot of people also say, I don't know how to sketch. That's false as well. You don't need to sketch. You don't need to be an artist. But these are learnable skills, right? It's not talent that you're born with. It can be learned. You have to just go at it. And the good news, you don't need to become the best visual designer. When you're starting out, your skills, your visuals need to be good enough to suspend disbelief so that people give you a deeper look. Do you get what that means? It means if I see a book at the airport and the cover is good, that's not alone my decision, right? I'm still going to, that gets it in my hand and now I start reading, right? And then I look at the contents and all this stuff. My point is, if you are intimidated by visuals, by UI design, know that you don't need to become the best designer in the world. You just need to be good enough, that's still a pretty high bar, by the way, good enough to suspend disbelief such that people are like, oh, it's not crap. Oh, it's pretty good. Let's go a little deeper. Let's read the person's case studies. Let's invite this person for an interview. Let's reply to the cold DM. Let's freelance project. Let's get this person on, right? Decisions. It needs to be good enough to suspend disbelief such that they give it a deeper look. And after that, if your main skill is actually problem solving, and maybe it's something else, right? Maybe it's I take really complex things and I simplify them through my frameworks, through my problem solving skills, and I create whole apps, I create full website, right? Maybe the main skill might not be visuals. That is when you can bank on that, right? Your visuals sometimes just gets you through the door, right? It's the cover. Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. Visuals are definitely important. But not so important that you should be overwhelmed ki I don't have innate talent and shit. That's bullshit, right? Doable. Dhanda. You're right, bro, Smith. Being from a design background, you feel like constantly that whatever you launch should be perfect. And in Dhanda, that's not true. You just need to solve something. Absolutely, bro. And to some extent, this is the startup MVP mindset, right? As a startup, you're a new entrant in the market. Other entrants have more money. They've been there longer. They have bigger teams. They have thousands of employees. As a startup, you are the underdog. So if you're working for startups, some of the energy you need to carry as well, which is, fuck bhai, like, I just need to get this done. Like, I can't just, like, bro, pixel ke pakode nahi talte reh sakte hain. Eventually, we need to give them food. They're fucking hungry. They want to eat. Baithe hue hain, bro. Customers, they need their problems and these all now, bro. And so some people see that as a negative, like startups don't care. Startups do care. But you need to be balanced, bro. I think that's what it comes down to. You need to be balanced in your thinking, right? This extremism, not good for anyone. Another question from Saurabh. As a beginner, should I copy, trace, try to wireframe and prototype? Saurabh, it's actually simple. Wireframe, prototype. See, if you're copying, tracing, there's no wireframing. There is prototyping though. And that's a simple YouTube tutorial. As a beginner, if you're very, very beginner, in the sense I never used Figma before, then do this, copying, tracing. But basically, you need to be good enough in Figma such that, bhai, eventually when you get into some of these deeper topics, right? The ones that are not visual, जो देख के नहीं, जिसके बारे में सोचा जाता है, and सोच के implement किया जाता है, like strategize करके सोच के you have to, like those kinds of topics that are not directly obvious, they start making sense once this is done, right? In the sense that even in our curriculum, for example, 10K designers, we don't start with theory of design. We start with Figma, because once you are comfortable in Figma, which only takes, with good practice, a week, 2 weeks, once you're good in Figma, suddenly everything starts making sense because you now have a playground where you can actually try, right? Sirf hawa mein nahi hai, you can actually go and by yourself create screens, create flows, create a Twitter banner, bro, for your Twitter profile, create stuff, create stickers, create a t-shirt for yourself, right? These are all things you can do. But I would definitely suggest go deeper into the tool. After that, figure out what game you want to play, bro. After you're done, right? Saurabh bhai, kya game khelna chahte ho? You want to get an internship? We have a video coming out on that. You want to become a freelancer? Check out the video on the channel from, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. Not sure? Check out the streams, right? Maybe you want to go abroad for your master's at HCI or something. Lots of people from 10K have done that, by the way. I have personally written their recommendation letters. That's an option that's available. But if you're not sure, that's where you need to focus. Skills, definitely important, but skills for what? What do you want to do? What's the goal? Don't forget that, right? Okay, guys. Yo, what's up? Ashish, bro. Since you're here, quick shout out to you. Let's see, guys. To wrap up the stream, or rather not wrap up the stream, just a quick shout out. Ashish, just to give you guys an example, right? Now, Ashish, bro, I'm going to take you as an example. Don't mind. But Ashish has worked at a bunch of companies, right? He's worked with startups. But what Ashish realized, and of course, I'm just going purely based on this, is he enjoys doing stuff like this, right? He enjoys being a Figma advocate. He enjoys being a partner at Framer. And Ashish is now working on his own project, which is Pika Icon, which is launching soon. So Pika Icons, definitely check it out when it comes out. But this gives you that example where design, outside of the skills part of it, there is also what do you want to do? What by game कौन सा खेलना चाहते हो? एक game नहीं है. It's not just one game anymore. We are living in the world of DLCs. Right? There's multiple paths you can go down. And you don't need to know all of this on day one, but just constantly keep adjusting, right? Shout out, bro, Ashish. Looking forward to Pika Icon. Wednesday, my dude. ठीक है, cool. Folks, मज़ा तो बहुत आ रहा है, to be honest. But I think I might wrap this up now. So thank you all. Thank you all for joining. This has been awesome. Folks who are interested in the cohort, keep an eye out. We aim to drop it next week. Applications, in the best case scenario, we're dropping next week. But as you all know, you know that? You saw that? It's a question mark. The cohort is a question mark because we're working on the artwork right now. We're working on our cohort branding. We do a brand new artwork refresh with every single cohort, along with merch, along with boxes, physical, all of that, right? This is my design project, to be able to design this whole cohort journey, but it starts with our cohort artwork. We will announce that next week. That is also when applications will open. But till then, we will have these streams as well. Let's take one more question here. Cyril, I hope your manager is not watching, but the question is, how do you deal with a manager who is stubborn with the decision making? Insisting on going forward with decisions that is useless to the users does no good to the project. Now, Cyril, your great question. I'm sure a lot of you have faced this scenario, right? In general, it helps to understand who has accountability. So to give you an example, if a startup dies, it's the founder that's responsible because the founder carries the greatest risk, right? Like the dhanda stuff we were talking about. Bro, if you are starting a design agency, you are the guy. Like you are the last layer of the safety net, right? After which it's dead. Like you have no excuses. Like it's you are the dude. But in a company, there's usually levels, right? So there is levels in terms of if something goes bad, whose ass is on the line, right? So typically, maybe it might be a manager. And I don't necessarily mean this in a negative way. I just mean the positive of it is if your company has a good structure, hierarchy of how it's set up, your managers and whatever, your managers should be empowering you. But every once in a while, they might take a decision that you disagree with, right? Like here, you disagree with this decision. And of course, according to you, what you think is the right one, but open, right? That's an open thing. You disagree. Usually in disagreements, for your own sanity, it helps to figure out why they carry that point of view. Because if you can figure out their why, you might just be able to convince them, right? Sometimes the manager might not be honest with you. Why? Because they not only have to manage down, which is manage the team, but they have to manage up, which is to the VPs or, whoever is above them, the layer above them. So they might not be able to give you a straightforward answer as to why yes or no. But a framework around this, 5 whys. Any decision, ask, hey, I'm curious. Don't make it a confrontation like, hey, I'm curious, wanted to know, regarding this, why did we do something like this? Right? You're not suggesting your solution, you're asking why. This is your ammo to be able to convince if you get enough. But you're asking them why they took that decision. And the 5 whys is basically whatever answer they give you, there can be a deeper reason. So then you ask why for the second time. Oh, that's interesting, whatever you said. But I thought this, that, this, that. Why is it still? Basically, with this why, you're trying to get to the root cause. Sometimes it takes 5 times asking why in a polite way, in a custom way to get to the root cause. But once you have the root cause, you can either be like peacefully, oh, okay, it felt like the wrong decision to me, but ठीक है, मैं समझ सकता हूँ. I understand why it happened. And kind of out of my control, but I understand why it happened. Or in that understanding, you might be like, oh, that's why they think that is the right solution because I have not pitched my thing correctly. Or those are their objections. These are their objections, which means if I can solve those, there's a good chance that my solution gets picked up, right? So this is the meta game here. This in fact is a part of the corporate game, or in fact the jobs game. You have to figure stuff like this out when you're in job, right? And how do I know this? It's because I've of course started at the lowest level, right? As an intern, I saw all this shit happening. I was confused, did not know, but eventually made my way up to when I was finally head of design, speaking directly to the founders of a company that is a unicorn. And now I have my team that I'm managing. There's product managers, developers. Suddenly I'm like, okay, I need to develop my understanding. Otherwise I'm not going to survive. I'm not going to survive. I have to understand. And so that really gave me a deep appreciation for how corporate environments work, right? Corporate environments, fucking efficient, bro. There's something to be said about corporate environments. People might not have the motivation to do something themselves, but in a company, they just go all in, they execute. Like people get shit done no matter what's going on. Like there's a lot of good things to be said about the corporate game. But yeah, you have to understand this stuff, bro. And it happens, it takes time. But the good news is you're in the cohort, so you have access to a network. You also have access to me. You can always DM me when things get shit. When shit gets hard, shit gets real. And yeah, bro, I think it's not, another point I'll just make for everybody else is sometimes it's not really about, oh bro, corporate mein ye hota hai, politics aati hain, ye wo. It's a part of the game, bro. Right? It's a part of the game. Like if you're a freelancer, you will have your own set of problems and it'll be slightly different. It might not be exactly like this, but whatever game you play, you will run into these kinds of things. So always great to have an open mind, have a problem solving type of mind, and have a high agency mindset, which is I as an individual can do it. I as an individual can figure it out. Any problem that exists is solvable. If it's not solvable, it's at least understandable. I can understand it. And if I understand it well enough, I can solve a good part of it. That's a good mindset to have. Cool, guys. Thank you all for joining in. This was dope. I am glad you enjoyed it. Dope live streams, very chill and flowing stream. Epic. GG. Thank you all, guys. If there's some questions that I did not get, next Wednesday, I'll see you all here. We also, by the way, real quick, we have a Twitter space coming up in the next hour. Like it's scheduled for today, but let's just see when it happens. Check out Twitter. I'll go retweet it right now. You might also be able to ask your question there. But yeah, okay. See you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.